Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community.
Hello and welcome again to Life Esteem. Always great to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we're going to talk to a dynamic pastor in the Harrisburg area by the name of Pastor Roma Benjamin. And she is with Greater Faith Ministries. She's the pastor and founder of that church. But they have also started an educational center. And we're really glad to have you on the show.
I'm so glad to be here.
All right. Now, I'd say off the top, too, a lot of people know Pastor Benjamin as being a principal in the Harrisburg School District and for years. And she was at many different levels. I think you did the middle school, you did the high school, you did them all, didn't you?
I did elementary, alternative ed. I did middle school and high school. So yes, you are correct.
Okay.
I did them all.
So I mean, almost everybody knows you that way.
Yes.
But you just recently stepped out of the school district to pursue education in a different way. Tell us about that.
Well, I recently stepped out January of this year.
Okay.
I felt led of the Lord to shut that down and really pursue teaching children how to read. So when you look at the data, and I'm not talking about data just for Harrisburg, I'm talking about data across the board. Our children are not reading. And they are falling below grade level. And I saw some statistics where 68% of fourth grade kids read on like a first grade level. So there's a problem with that. I, being an educator in the system for about 18 years, I was in Oklahoma, Pittsburgh, and here. Most of my years have been here. Being in the system, seeing that children are passed through the system, students are old, sitting in grades that they shouldn't be in, students who are defined as behavior problems, and you know that. But when we look at the bottom line and the real issue, go to the root problem, they can't read. And if they're reading below grade level, that's almost equivalent to not being able to read.
Let me ask you, and you said it's a real major concern. What do you think the issue is around this not reading at grade level? Are they not being introduced to reading early enough? Are there some other concerns in regard to how they need to be taught in regard to reading? What do you think it is?
There are a lot of concerns, but we have to go back to the beginning, which would be preschool, kindergarten through third grade, because this is where reading is taught. And if a child does not get the components to reading during this time, and they move to fourth grade, which now they're dealing with text and understanding the text, and they don't get it, and you continue to pass them, because that's the issue, that they continue to be passed. You know, and maybe you don't, you should, I'm pretty sure you do, that there's a correlation between crime and illiteracy.
Oh my goodness, oh, absolutely.
You understand that, you know, prisons are created based on the scores of third and fourth grade children, especially males, especially African American males. And if we don't really look at the root cause, because you have to go back to, okay, what is missing? The children are supposed to be able to know the alphabet and the sounds that the alphabet makes. You understand? With phonics, phonemic awareness, comprehension, vocabulary, spelling, all of these are components of reading. And if the child does not have a strong foundation in that, then they're not going to be successful as they move on to other grades. And the sad part about this is they are promoted. Like, I have a student in my center, she's not in the Harrisburg School District, she's in another district. She's up in upper grade, but she's reading on a third grade level. You know, I have most of my kids are males in my center, and I have kids like first grade who read below kindergarten, third grade who reads on first grade. You know, so you got to take time and say, okay, somebody has to step up and say enough is enough. And I've stepped up and said enough is enough. I left a six-figure job to literally focus on children who cannot read, struggling readers. That's why I opened up a literacy center, New Sound Literacy and Technology Center in the church.
So, and tell us more about the center itself and the kind of techniques that you use to address, this very, serious problem.
Well, one of the things I use software called Test Out Kids.
Okay.
And first I tested kids on the components of reading. Sight words, high frequency words, spelling, vocabulary, phonics, and comprehension. Parents have to be there when they're testing. And the reason why parents have to be there is parents need to see. Parents think that because their child has an A or B, that means they can read. But that technically doesn't mean they can read. Right. It means they passed something that the teacher gave them.
That's right.
And if the teacher is not focusing on reading, then it could just be sheets of paper, handouts, let's put it that way.
Right.
I'm not trying to beat up the public school system, but something has to be done.
No, absolutely.
Something has to be done. My job is really to enhance it. And so when they're testing, parents sit there, just like you're sitting there, child's taking the test, parents are sitting there, and when the parents see their children going like this, now the parents are like, well, I didn't know this about my child, And when they get to the comprehension segment and they can't read fluently, it disturbs the parents. What the test does, it's computerized, it will stop. It will not continue. It's evaluating the child as it goes. So if the child is really at a high level of frustration, it stops. Because we don't want the child to do what they can't do. That gives me to know that what I need to do to help that child do what they cannot do, if you understand what I mean.
I appreciate that,
And so a lot of times parents, when I sit down with them and show them, they say, well, I didn't know that. Well, I have a parent right now whose son has 100 in reading. He's been in my center since mid-September. Last year he was classified as a behavior problem. Didn't like to read. His scores in school were very low. So I took him in and I began to work with him with letters and sounds and explaining from the beginning, because this is where all the damage takes place between K and third grade. So I'm working with him, so he gets 100 in reading on his progress report recently. He's not from Harrisburg. I have kids from all districts. And he gets 100, and the mother is like, oh, wow, he got 100, he got 100, I'm so excited. So then she brings me back a paper yesterday. She said, Pastor, explain this. Because now they're saying that he needs intensive training in reading, and he's on this tier level. But I thought, and the teacher keeps telling me he's doing well, and now, so she's confused. So I take the paper and I said, you don't know what it's saying, right? She said, no. I said, it's put in a language for you not to know. I'll just put the rubber where it meets the road. It's put in a language for you not to know, but you're a concerned parent. So she brought it to me, and I began to explain to her about this reading intervention pyramid. So when she understood, she said, well, then that's why I'm going to keep him here. She said, I told the principal, he's here, and the principal said yes, and I'm going to have parents sign a waiver for me to come in, as we progress in this, to come in, visit with the students, to see what's going on in the classroom, because that's what my job is. My job is to make these kids prepared to survive in the classroom.
Here's the issue, because, and you're doing a fantastic job. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. But you have so many students in a particular class.
Yes.
And you have that one teacher, right? Maybe with some helps in there, I'm not sure. And so I had a student say to me just last night when we were doing our Celebrating Families and Strengthening Families program, she said, I'm in this classroom, and because some of the kids aren't getting it, the teacher slows it down. She says, and it's like, why don't you slow it down for them? But I'm trying to move here.
Right.
That was the way she described this thing.
Right.
And again, she was, in fact, she was in one of the suburban school districts there. But she said, they're slowing it down. And that, she said, so I feel like I'm being penalized. But I'm in this classroom for everybody else. So how do you address it? How does a teacher address that? Will you just leave some people behind, or what do you do? Because it gets tough.
Like, for instance, I'm addressing it. I created an environment where it's a little smaller, where you can, I group the kids based on their ability and their levels.
Okay.
So the ones who are higher does not get held back
Good.
because you're trying to advance those that are lower. Now, every one of them are getting phonics and phonemic awareness. You understand what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
They're getting that. All of them, because we all could stand to have that. You understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Right.
I understand what this young lady is saying, because she feels that she's not going forward because you probably have more kids who don't have it than you have kids who do have it. But then once again, she's like a peer.
Yeah.
If she was used to help some of the other
Now,
kids,
that's good.
because you know kids. They learn.
They relate
from
that to
that's
each
that
other.
cooperative learning,
That's right.
Exactly.
cooperative teaching. They learn from one another,
right.
which is a good thing. But in my center, it's smaller. It gives people the opportunity to be comfortable with the fact that they don't read as well as they should. I have kids in the center who cannot read, and they're in school.
Wow. Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding you.
Well, and I believe that.
I'm
for
not.
Sure.
I kid you not.
Yeah.
I've had kids get to the comprehension. As a matter of fact, didn't even make it to the comprehension part because their phonics and their phonemic awareness was so low that the test shut down. Because I had a kid reading a sentence, he just started crying. He started crying. He said, "I cannot read this." That's exactly what he said. He said, "I cannot read it." Which is sad.
Right.
You understand what I mean? And it breaks my heart to know that I'm sitting in a system that potentially fails our kids. So, you know,
Right.
what do we do to stop this? And we have to stop it head on. We can no longer blame the public school system. We can no longer blame socioeconomic
Right.
disadvantages, and we can no longer blame parents and say that the parents don't care. We have to go back and look at the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is our kids can't read. Now, what are we going to do to teach them?
And one thing I like you saying is that we cannot blame. So what we have to do now is all pull together and make this happen.
Absolutely.
So your center represents an opportunity for us to. So how can we assist your center, and what kind of things do you do? By the way, what ages are you taking at this point?
Kindergarten through 8th grade.
Wonderful. Okay.
And that's on purpose. Because a lot of times we beat them down in 9th through 12th grade,
Right.
and they are embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because now you're dealing with social
Yes, yeah.
awareness.
Yeah.
Who in the 9th grade want to read a first grade book,
I know.
but that's the level you're on.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to teach you what you've not gotten. You know, so I do kindergarten through 8th grade on purpose to go back to the beginning, to really help the kids to focus. So my center, we use technology, and we also use physical books, because I train young men. I use them as mentors as well
Great.
for the young men, because young men get discouraged very easily.
Oh yeah.
You understand? With so much in the world that's offered to them, they get discouraged very easily. So I have young men who come in and listen to the kids read, as well as read to the kids. And then we have the software that we work with every day. So we have to pay for that.
Okay.
It costs money.
Yes, it does.
Now-
Well, you know everything costs.
Yeah, but let me ask you, in regard to your school, you say that you have from kindergarten to 8th grade.
Yes.
Now, are they there a full day or just for a portion of the day with you? What's the format?
Right now, it's after school, 4 to 6.
After school,
It's
okay.
after school, 4 to 6, Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to eventually do before school, but you know, I have to start somewhere.
Right.
So I'm starting with after school from 4 to 6.
Good.
Students come in, they get a snack, and then we hit the ground running.
Okay.
Also, once a month, they go on a special field trip that they select, you know, that incorporates all of them.
Okay.
So the kids who have 7th grade, 6th grade, you know, kindergarten, but we all go on the same field trip so that they, you know, can interlocked, and the older kids can be an example to the younger kids, you know,
Okay.
and that's how we do it. And parents come in
Yeah.
every day, they drop them off, and then they come in to pick them up. We have conversation. Some of the conversation so far has been they've seen progress in their child. Their teachers have told them that, you know, they see a more positive output from the students.
Right.
Kids are now reading I have two little boys. They bring books with them now.
All right,
Now,
good.
Mom had a hard time last
Right.
year
Yeah.
getting them to read.
Right.
Now they're coming in, Pastor, look at these books we have. You know,
that's
because
wonderful.
they're bringing in books to
Great.
discuss. Because they're building. You know, when you can read, you have confidence.
You
That's
certainly
right.
do. You really feel
You
good about
have
yourself.
confidence. You feel good about yourself. You feel good about others. You feel good about the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, because right now we're talking about people keep referring to adults who can't read. I call that a child and an adult that can't read. That's literally a child and an adult
That's
who
right.
didn't get what they needed to be a proficient or above or advanced reader. So my kids say at the end of the day, when they leave every day, they come out, well, I'm going to be a super reader. I'm going to be an awesome reader.
All right.
I'm going to be a great reader. And this is what they say about themselves on a regular basis.
How much of it is the technology now? I mean, kids have the gadgets from your cell phone to the computer, right, to the television, just about everything. You know, now they walk around with these big old, what do they
Video
call those things,
games,
the pads
all-
and the video
the
games.
games, all that.
So how much of that is taken away? Plus they talk in a computer language. They don't even use full sentences anymore and all that kind of stuff, you know. And so has that hurt us? Because we used to read for pleasure.
Right.
You know, you just had books that you read, you know, and it was fun. And I still see kids, I mean, of course, Harry Potter would not be Harry Potter if someone wasn't reading.
Exactly.
Can we break it down a
Well,
little bit
and
further?
watching the movie.
Watching the movie too, yeah, that's true too. But the other piece is that they're saying, in particular, African American kids are reading like 100% less than other cultures. And it's really showing up oftentimes in the standardized testing and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about
Because,
that.
Pastor, we have to, I understand we're in the age of technology. I do. And you have to use technology in today's world. But you have to still go back to the rudiments of reading.
That's right.
Because to get a job, you have to go on the computer to
That's
fill
right.
out the application.
Absolutely.
If you can't read,
I
and that's not
know.
in computer language.
That's right.
Okay? That's in standard English.
Mm-hmm.
And so after your age and, I mean, your birthday, your address and your phone number, it starts asking you technical questions. And of course, if the application is more than 5 pages, our kids don't get those jobs
Yep.
because they can't get past the first 2 pages.
Pages.
So we have to go back and use the technology correctly, not just give them the technology and
That's
let
right.
them go off on a tangent with it, but use the technology correctly. That's why I use technology. I use books. We use computerized books. We do. They listen to computerized books for 2 hours, or about an hour and a half.
Okay.
By the time you do snack and everything. For about an hour and a half, they use computerized book and they listen. They're listening to people read to them, as
Okay.
well as they're listening to me and facilitators in the program read to them, and then they read back to them. They're listening to questions because we want them to think outside the box. You understand what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. Now, is there a cost to your program?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And right now, it's a minimum cost because I wanted to prove to the community, first of all, that I mean business.
Okay.
So you know I mean business if I leave a high-paying job.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not of age to retire, neither do I have years. So I don't have what you call a full pension that will take care of me. So I opened up the center. My goal was 20 students. I'm at 14.
Nice.
20 students to focus on them, to show, to give them a mid-year report somewhere in January or December, you know, because I'm not teaching them to take a test. They're learning to read.
All right.
They're learning to be readers,
Right.
proficient readers on their grade level and above. And so I started it out with $75 a month. Of course, it will increase because most centers, and we could name some,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
okay, then
Yeah, I know.
they cost money.
Oh, yeah.
And usually, African Americans don't go to those centers because they don't have
Have the money. Yeah.
the money to pay for that.
So it is possible then for some of our viewers who are watching this program to say, you know what, I'm going to sponsor a kid each month.
Absolutely.
And they can just give that $75 to your center.
Absolutely.
Go right to
They
that
could
student.
sponsor a kid. They could sponsor the technology part because we have to pay monthly. We pay for the technology on a monthly basis, and it's not like I could go and say, okay, well I don't have it this month,
Yeah.
but we have to pay for it on a monthly basis. And right now our facilitators are volunteers,
Okay.
which eventually you know, as they are well trained and well groomed in it, they will be paid as well. But my main concern is getting the students.
Absolutely.
Getting them what they need so that when they go in the classroom, they don't have to hide.
Right.
You know, some students won't even read out loud. I don't know if they still do that, read out loud.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't do it much when I was an educator because kids are embarrassed.
Yeah.
I had a young man
you about that. You think that is uncomfortable for young people to read out loud, that's not a real good way to try to
Sure,
aid?
it's embarrassing
Yeah.
because some kids, if you know, the majority of the kids sitting in the classroom are not reading on their grade level.
Right.
So if you have a fourth grader and you give them a fourth grade book, then and they're reading on a first or second grade level, they're going to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
They're going to feel
Yeah.
like somebody's laughing at them, no matter how many times the teacher coaches them and coaches the classroom. They're going to be embarrassed. So I didn't use that a lot.
I want to tell you about a technique that I have, and I want to introduce it to you because I've used it in the Harrisburg School after-school program and in Susquehanna Township for their summer programs with New Beginnings years ago, and it's called a Read Aloud series. But what happens is it's a play, and everybody takes a part. And so they're doing this play together, and they literally sit there and read, and some of the kids struggle mightily. They really do. But guess what happens? Everyone chips in.
Right.
No one laughs.
Exactly.
Why? Because they're into the play. It's not like you're just reading. So what happens is we're reading, and at the same time we're encouraging each other, and we're learning the words together. You know, I'll sit down and show you.
We do that in the center where the kids are in groups, and they start out in groups, and they're doing sound. So we have what you call a word wall that don't have words.
Right.
It has the letters that the kids have to go and then tell the sounds to those letters. Once they give you the sound to the letters, then they create the word for the wall.
That's good.
So they help each other. And they, like if a kid is struggling, we'll say to another kid, can you help them out right there? And the kid will help them out, you know, because it happens.
It happens, that's right.
I struggled, you know, but I was always a high reader in elementary. You know, just I read above my grade level. When I was in second grade, I was on fourth grade.
I remember struggling. I was a person who struggled mightily as a young kid, you know, to read and everything. But I remember saying to myself, I'm going to read, you know, and I really wanted to do it. Whereas a lot of kids would just, give up. And that's part of the issue, too. We can't allow them to give up, you know, or to stay the same. Or just simply say, as long as you're nice and you're not misbehaving, you're okay. We'll pass you through.
Exactly.
You got to cancel that.
I had a kid that just recently met me in the mall, and he was like, Miss Benjamin, you remember me? And I didn't at first. And he said, I heard you were the principal. What are you doing now? And I told him. He said, oh, I'm glad you got a reading center because you taught me how to read.
All right.
In 8th grade.
All right. Now.
8th grade.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that too about it has to start at pre-K to 3rd grade. I have a granddaughter who just started first grade this year. She was in kindergarten last year. And one thing her mother observed, she said, I thought she was reading these stories, but what I discovered, she knew them by heart. And now I'm seeing that we really have to work with her to really know the words and read it. But she was just remembering what her mother was sharing when they had read. And so she picked a book and she was telling the story, but she really wasn't reading the book.
I catch that all the time.
Do you catch that too?
I catch it. That's, oh my goodness. I just got over a cold.
Oh, I know
okay.
you did. Yeah.
But I catch that all the time where kids, if it says the book, and each page say the book,
They got it.
they got it, right? So you got to throw something in there where the page doesn't say the book. And then you know
That's right.
they don't know it, so you got to go back.
Yeah. By the way, are you familiar with Joe Bedard by any chance?
No.
I want to introduce you to Joe Bedard because he is located over there in Enola. And Joe works along with so many great people in the area, like Floyd Stokes and others, to really bring books, high quality books into the area and give them to people like myself and Floyd Stokes and others to give them out, you know, to kids.
I think someone gave me his name.
Okay, good. I think it may have been me. But anyhow, I want to make sure that you get to Joe Bedard because Joe would be a great asset to your center in terms of helping you to get quality books. and get kids into the love of reading and having their own book. That's another
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah, so we'll talk about
Absolutely.
that. And Floyd Stokes, I don't know, I'm sure you know
Of
Floyd.
course.
Yeah,
Super reader.
Yes, indeed.
reader.
And maybe get him to come up to your center.
I would
sometime.
love
He
for
does a
him to
great
come up to
job.
the center so he could see
Yeah, he does
what's
great
going
work.
on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
So now the role of the parents, let's talk about that very quickly. What can the parents do while they're at home? They come to your center, then how can they reinforce what you're doing?
Well, one of the things that they could do is they have to start valuing their child's education.
Absolutely.
But when we say education, that's a big umbrella. Because I had a parent who they said they didn't have the money
Okay.
and that they were going to pull their child. So I said, no, you can't pull your child because your child can't read.
Okay.
But then I went straight with him. I said, look, stop buying all the name brand stickers.
Oh, yeah.
You understand what I mean?
yeah.
The earrings and all the latest outfits, and invest in your child's reading. Because your son can't read. He's first grade. He went from kindergarten to first grade, and he's reading below kindergarten.
Yeah.
So they keep passing him. So if you don't get involved with this, you're going to find they're going to have a bed waiting for your child.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and to talk about that, I don't think people get the critical nature of knowing how to read and how that starts determining how many prisons need to be built. And you alluded to that earlier in the conversation. By third or fourth grade, there's an indicator, particularly with African American males, that they can start looking at their planning for prisons.
Absolutely, because
based on
they
the reading
know
level.
that if a child is not reading by fifth grade,
Yeah.
that they're going to resort to some type of criminal activity. And just read the news.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If they're not being murdered, they're the ones murdering
That's right.
someone.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know, and it's easy to go out and make a dollar, on the streets than to literally sit down and learn what you need to do to make money the right way.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, we're going to quickly run out of time. Tell us again the name of the center, where you're located, and your hours of operation, that kind of good stuff.
New Sound Literacy and Technology Center. We're located in Greater Faith Ministries, 120 South 27th Street.
Okay.
That's Harrisburg. That's in Pembroke,
Okay.
17103. The phone number is 717-545-4594.
Okay.
It has a lot of fives. I saw that.
That number one more time.
And we 717-545-4594. And we're operating from the hours of 4 to 6,
Okay.
Monday through Thursday.
Great, great. And you still have room for others, people to come
I
in?
still have some room for other students to come in.
Okay.
Parents are still calling.
Okay, good.
Please call. You'll talk to someone in the administrative office, and we'll get your child scheduled to be tested, and we can take it from there.
I will tell you very quickly that I work with United Way of the Capital Region. This is one of the things we've been talking about, that first to third grade and how critical reading proficiency is.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to be doing a lot of work around that and helping organizations to, understand that. I want to thank Pastor Roma Benjamin for coming on and doing what she does so well, and that is educate our kids. And you have to support her and her great center. We have to make sure that we have an educated populace, because we know that when we don't have, we know what the outcomes are. But we're hopeful. We know that things are going to be great because there are great people making it happen. I want to thank you so much for being great as well. Thank you for watching this program, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on Life Esteem. Thank you.